There we go. Welcome, gents.
Hello.
Good, Jen.
How's things going?
Good, and you guys, man? How's things in Cape Town?
Good, good. Freaking cold, but cold and wet.
See
Like
your
it should-
lockdown beard's coming around there nicely, there.
Yeah. It'll grow. I'll keep it till level 1 if we ever reach that point.
Oh,
Didn't
that's
he
true.
actually tell you that he's actually gone Amish?
Oh, is it? Sitting with a beer in your hand.
I'm sinning while doing this podcast because there's way too much technology going on here.
It's the devil's work, I tell you.
But I just feel obliged to at least thank Amith, firstly for coming on the show, and secondly for adhering to the rules and not wearing any Liverpool gear.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for having me. It's an honor. So I thought I'll put the Ferrari one there. So
Much better.
so the viewers know I'm a bit biased in my comments.
It's fine. We basically built the pundits on being biased, so
Oh, that's good, yeah. So
Mate,
just
a
don't
lot
bring
of
up Super Rugby then, because then we'll have an issue.
yeah.
Yeah, you know what? We'll just leave that as it is.
I was checking the F1 site just now. Well, I've got it open here, and we are exactly 16 and a half hours away from the first race.
Yeah, bit different this year. We've got 8 races that are confirmed, and then we've got 2 racetracks that are repeating races. So we're having 2 race weekends in, I think, in Austria this weekend here. Coming up is the first one, and then again the following weekend, and also Silverstone's hosting 2 races. So as a fan, I'm just glad we're getting some racing to start off with, and then FIA, I'm sure, will take it from there and see where they can expand the season. So in that aspect, I'm guessing a lot of people are happy, and obviously the drivers as well.
I'm really surprised Silverstone got a double header. Seeing
Sorry?
that there's been, have you been surprised that Silverstone got a double header? Seeing that, was it last year they were talking about financial issues with the track and all things like that going on?
Yeah, no. Look, for Austria, you can understand why they're having a double header there. Obviously, the government feels that the track won't pose a serious threat to the people that are there, because it's in the forest somewhere, in the middle of nowhere, basically. And you've got a military base right there as well. So the teams will fly in directly there, have no contact with the outside world as such, and there's no fans coming in. So there you understand. Silverstone, but different, but again, it's not too close to any major city. Well, when I say that, there's some towns that are close by, but I'm sure FIA probably worked out some deal with them. And obviously the second race is not the British Grand Prix, it's the 70th anniversary for FIA or the Formula One. So in that sense, I suppose it's nice to have it at Silverstone.
No, for sure.
So what is the plan going forward? As far as I understand, is they're doing the 8 races now, which obviously, like you said, are confirmed. And are they going to attempt to do sort of as many as possible after that?
Yeah, from what the FIA was saying, they're trying to keep it in Europe for now. So the traveling circus, as they call it, doesn't have to go around the world, because let's face it, we don't want people traveling and trying to spread this virus or make it worse, or for the teams itself, where we have to shut down the season again. So what they did say was, if this plan sort of works, they'll go into it 4 races and see how it goes, and then obviously work with other countries and other racetracks to see where they can take it. We already had a whole lot of countries cancelling this season. So from the likes of Australia, Singapore, everyone's pulled out. So there's definitely no races going to be happening in those countries.
Yeah, which I mean,
Grand Prix is also, I think the Dutch Grand Prix was a big one that everyone was excited about, because Zandvoort obviously was a track.
Brand new track. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame. I was actually hoping to go for that one this year, so that went down the toilet.
I think we need to do it next year, because I was hoping to do it as well.
Yeah,
not happening.
Yeah, well, hopefully things have settled down next year and we can actually travel again and go see live sports. I mean, for the F1 race to happen is one thing, but we fans need to be there as well.
Yeah, Well, I suppose one good thing about the F1 is that in terms of the fans, they'll probably miss the fans the least in terms of the drivers. Because obviously, if you're going 200 something miles an hour down the track, you don't even see or hear the crowd.
You would think that, but hearing the drivers' comments over the past 2 months, they're quite the opposite of our opinion. Eh? I mean, if you look back to last year's Austrian race, Max Verstappen's Orange Army was there in full force, eh? And those guys are loud. He says they spurred him on. I mean, if you look at his start last year, he had a slow start. I think he dropped down to 7th place, and he ended up winning the race on the 3rd last lap. And he says the fans were he's driving for. So, for them, it does make sort of a difference.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Max, sorry, Keegan, go ahead.
The big thing about what I think the drivers will miss is that that Thursday where you get all those meet and greets. I know it becomes a pain for them, all the extra merchandise that needs to be signed and all that nonsense. But I think a lot of the fans the racers get that buzz, for that race.
For sure.
Yeah. On that Thursday, that Friday with everyone around. And that'll be interesting to see if they get up for it.
No, for sure, yeah. Yeah, because Thursday it's normally the pit walk if you buy tickets for that, and obviously you get the one-on-one sessions which you pay a lot of money for. Some people get invited for, and obviously the merchandising and the various sponsored events. So yeah, that's gone now. It's just purely get there, get the job done, and pack up and leave.
Yeah, it's like taking them back to the karting days.
Yeah, true. I think now they're much bigger and they earn a lot more money.
I think the big thing for me, which I can't wait for, I think that this whole F1 season is, F1 lost me for many years. I watched it religiously. It was a family thing. My dad and I watched it, and then it just lost me for a while. And probably about 3.5 years ago, the bug bit again. And I think for me at this point in time is, I think what makes this one extra special now is you got to get going from the first race. There's not enough races to just settle in, figure out what the car is, figure out where you are in the pack. You basically got to go balls to the walls from race 1 if there's only an 8-race season. And
for sure.
And all the championships are up for grab. So it all counts as well.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a very different season. That's for sure. And you could see some surprises, or you will see some surprises, should I say. Obviously, with the doubleheader coming up in Austria, the guys were chatting, how it's going to affect them. It all comes down to strategy. Obviously, the weather will play a part, but I don't think it will change too much in the 2 race weekends. So if you cock up on the first race weekend, there's always time. You got 7 days to okay, maybe you should try this, change that strategy, try and do a different pit stop management system, and swap things around for the next race, and it could be a whole different scenario.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very interesting to watch, is to see the difference in the 2 races on the same track and possibly in similar conditions. It's going to be very interesting to see how they respond to, what happened in the first race, and whether or not we see more or less the same kind of results from the whole pack, or if we see some movement on the grid.
Yeah, no, look, also with the teams now, you've got a lot of youngsters coming through, and we've seen, I don't know if you guys were following the esports F1 competition they were having. A lot of the rookies were taking part, and you can see there's a nice competitiveness between them. You got the likes of Lando Norris. Okay, he doesn't have the best cars. McLaren did come good towards the end of last season, but hopefully they're on the money this weekend. And then you've also got George Russell, who ended up winning that series. Even though the Williams is not the best car on there, but his driving style is something to watch out for. So he could be giving the old bullies, if you want to call them that, some stick going into these races.
I think the biggest thing for me, and I love that esports thing, because I love the competitiveness against the young drivers, the rookie drivers, if you call it, the Leclercs, the Norrises, the Russells. What I like about that whole situation right now in Formula One is you got guys that are super competitive. they want to win, but there's also that humility about them where they're mates. You can clearly see they get on when
Yeah.
cars aren't on the racetrack. You can clearly
No.
see that they get on. You got the Alex Albons as well. That's come through, and I think it's a cool like advertisement for Formula One right now, because we're used to this. I think we past years used to the stigma of the best drivers are these arrogant, like real arrogance about them. And we don't just talk about the Schumachers from back in the day, but even I love Kimi's sarcastic humor. Most people can't stand it, little things like that. And you're seeing a different generation of driver, which is quite fun to see. And I'm hoping we see more of it as the season goes through. I hope we see them taking the piss out of each other, really giving each other stick when they're racing. So I think there's a lot to look forward to, and especially if someone that's not used or hasn't really fallen in love with Formula One, the shortened series or championship could actually be the perfect thing to get the bug biting.
Yeah, no, for sure. Also, what you got to realize, these guys have come up through the ranks together, from karting to your Formula 2 all the way up to Formula 1. I mean, so they all know each other already very well. I mean, all the drivers have done that, but this group of rookies that come through are very close-knit compared to the previous bunch. I mean, we've seen pictures of Vettel and Lewis together from karting days, but while they claim to be good friends, we don't really see it on the track.
But
I'm sure they've got respect.
Keegan, that reminds me a little bit of our discussion the other day about the England football team, which seems to have the same thing going with the youngsters, where even though they are playing for different teams, they seem a lot closer together than the golden generation did. And there's a lot more camaraderie and banter and stuff between them. And I think we're seeing the same thing now with the Formula One with the younger guys.
Yeah, just our time. We just need some of these old bullies now to either come to the party now and bring some charisma and that, or jump ship and go do NASCAR or something like that.
Oh, IndyCar, yeah. Also, you got to realize the generation we're in now. I mean, with your social media and wanting to be okay, they already are popular. They don't need any more followers, but it makes things more entertaining for the fans. I mean,
yeah, it does. Especially like you said, the social media, because there's a lot of even on the football side. I know there's a lot of banter on social media, which just enhances the experience of any sport so much.
Yeah, for sure. And then also you got to give it up for Formula One themselves. They're doing a sterling job on their social media, the YouTube page. They're keeping fans up to date on Instagram. Even though there weren't any races, we've always been getting information every day or some snippets from past races, etc. So
and they did a wonderful job with this the gaming series. That was super entertaining. I must say, I didn't think it would be that great. And then I watched the first couple of rounds, and I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, they did a good thing by inviting some other sports stars. I mean, you had Ian Poulter there, Sergio Aguero even took part in one race. So yeah, it's interesting. You want to see how other guys get along in this thing, and so to credit it, some of them didn't do too badly. I mean, Sergio Aguero held his own there than one race, even though he came about 13th.
Their master, I think, when you take and you give in the FIA quite a lot of praise, and rightly so. I think the genius thing as well was probably this Drive to Survive series. Like, was probably the biggest master stroke of everything, because people are actually watching the season now to see what's going to come out in the series, what's going to come out in the season series, because actually watching, because you're like, oh shit, remember when those two were into each other and they were having words? I would love to see the behind the scenes at the end of the season, what actually came from it. And I think
for sure.
That's created more stars. Yeah, so that series is a big part of why, similarly to Keegan, I stopped watching Formula One really at the time when they stopped the fuel stops, and that, to me, that took a lot out of the sport for me, and with the Drive to Survive, that really started getting me back into the sport, and to kind of see, okay, but it's not really as boring as I thought it was. without the fuel stops and all of that.
No, for sure. I mean, it's a great behind the scenes. Even if you're not an avid Formula One fan, it's worth the watch because you don't realize how much time and effort goes into preparing a car for each race or for the season, giving the insight into what the drivers have to go through and the teams and preparation for a race weekend. And obviously, if something happens in the race, you want to find out, okay, well, what happened after that? I think last season, what I was looking forward to most was seeing what happens to Vettel after the Canadian race when you swap the signs around, but they didn't really cover Ferrari that much, so I was a bit disappointed with that. But I see they have confirmed, Netflix have confirmed that they're going to be filming. I think they got permission by 4 teams already for season 3, so that's good.
I think what it got us invested in the middle teams, which was great. You know, that dogfight got us very much invested. So we all supported one of the top 3, if you call it, in a way.
Yeah.
You almost have a second team now that you support because you just know a little bit of the backstory now. So like, I love what's happening at McLaren, and it's just to do with like how Lando Norris is and the behind, seeing like obviously we know the royalty and what the team is all about, and just the fall from grace. That's almost now the next team that you want to sort of really be pushing. And others have fallen in love with Haas, with Günther, who I wouldn't say he's a real typical German because that's more Toto, but I would say Günther brings his own style of German efficiency, and he doesn't also hold his tongue. And I think most people love that as well. Calls a spade a spade.
No, 100%. Yeah, he's quite a character. I mean, a lot of people fell in love with Günther, and obviously the whole Haas story. And it's nice to see that, you know, those sort of smaller teams are getting recognition nowadays, or recognized, should I say.
Yeah, I think a lot of what happens on in the races in the middle of and obviously towards the back of the pack gets lost on viewers because it's obviously not always focused on that much. And then this series just gives you that inside info on that. And also just see how competitive it is because they have such small budgets and everything. And everyone obviously, sure, there's a lot of money in the sport for any team, but people often forget that these teams do struggle financially and they only make it, you know, year by year, a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the teams this year, you'll see some new names there. I mean, the teams had to sell up due to financial reasons. Surprise, Williams is still there. Claire's doing her best, but yeah, she's lucky. She's got 2 good drivers. She's obviously got Russell there, who's one of the best at the moment, best rookies. And then also, if you look at, I think it was Force India. I can't remember what they who bought them now, but those guys also got some good drivers. So
they went to racing. What's it?
Racing Point. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think didn't Toro Rosso? They've also now rebranded to the what's it? Red Bull has got that clothing brand.
Yeah. They've changed it.
Toro Rosso. They've also got a name change and the color, the car color changed and everything like that. So something to get used. Well, that'll be something to get used to, but it's pretty much the same team as well with what's it, Gasly and Danny Kvyat.
Yeah. Gasly's also got to prove after he was ditched from the main team last season. But in all honesty, Alex Albon's shown his mettle. He's come up the hard way. He's doing things his way as well, and he's going to give. I won't say he'll give Max a big run for his money, but he's going to be up there fighting for his spot. Way better than what Pierre was doing last year.
No, I must agree there.
So how do we feel if we do end up with only having 8 races or obviously a much shorter season? One thing that doesn't sit completely well with me, and it's mostly got to do with Lewis Hamilton, is the fact that he will, if he does win this season, he'll equal Schumacher's record on an 8 race season.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of talk about that as well. I mean, we know Mercedes are the strongest team at the moment. They've shown in testing earlier this year. We don't know what the times are like now with halfway down the line, but I don't think it's that much different. Look, it is an unfortunate circumstance we found ourselves in. I think FIA just want to get the season going to give people entertainment and obviously not have the whole year null and voided. But yeah, if Lewis had to win this championship for the 8 record time, I don't think they're gonna put an asterisk or anything next to his name to say, "Hey, hold on." So
Well,
yeah, it won't sit well with many.
In my mind, there will be an asterisk.
Yeah, no.
The difference
sure.
is, I think the difference is if he goes and blitzes all 8 races and he wins them. I think we all would sort of be on the sort of understanding that if he goes and wins all 8 races, we're like, well, he's probably going to definitely win another 4 or 5 if this was an extended season. So
Yeah,
that's pretty much what happened. I think that would
true.
happen.
Yeah, no, look, if he does go and get pole every race, win every race, then there's sort of some merit to it. But end of the day, if you're a Schumacher supporter, whether you still like it or not, you're not going to be happy with him equaling that
No, you're not.
record.
fair enough.
Don't worry, Max
In-
will at some
In
point.
terms of race coming up, I know Max Verstappen has a great record at Austria. What's your thoughts on him possibly getting a great start and taking both races?
Very, very strong. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying he relied on the fans last year, but it did help a bit. But remember, Charles Leclerc holds the fastest lap record there, and he blitzed everybody in qualifying last year, and I'm sure he's eager to get some revenge on Max after losing out literally 3 laps before the end. So there's going to be some fight between those 2 youngsters over there. And also another big thing is Vettel. I don't know if you guys heard just earlier, there was an interview with him with regards to his contract renewal. Apparently, there was no talks at all. He just got a call from the team boss and said, look, we want to part ways with you. There's no negotiations going further. So he came to Ferrari looking for a title. And if anything, this is his best possible chance if there's only 8 races. If he goes pedal to the metal for all 8 races and try and get good finishes, whether it's a podium finish or winning the race, this is his best shot. I mean, his last and only shot with Ferrari. And he wants to prove something as well because he doesn't have a seat yet for next year. Whoever did approach him wasn't to his liking as yet. So maybe if he does drive well, one of the bigger teams will say, hey, hold on, we can free up a spot for you here.
How much more difficult do you think that's going to be for him, considering that one has to assume that they're going to make Leclerc the priority this season?
Look, it will be a bit difficult for him, I won't lie, but you must understand his racing team is still the same. So the guys that are calling the shot on strategies and giving him advice, obviously higher up in the management, they'll also call shots there. But knowing Vettel, the type of driver he is, he's not going to go out laying down. He's going to do his own thing. I mean, I had a lot of respect for him when he was at Red Bull, even though I didn't like him because he was winning all the time there. So when he came to Ferrari, I thought it would be the perfect fit. Unfortunately, the car let him down end of the day. And then with the team bosses they've had, no one really showed good leadership. And it just ran the team down, unfortunately, and it affected the drivers. So let's hope for something different this year.
Staying on the Ferrari thing, because I know we both support Ferrari in that aspect, especially on Twitter, and that we've both had especially on Sundays after races, and we've blown first or second place about something. It's always been a freaking race strategy, or it's something in the car falling apart, or most of the time it's that then driver errors. But team principle has been a big issue at Ferrari. And when we say a big issue, it's bigger than anything else, than the drivers, because I think you can put any driver in that car right now with that team principle situation, and I think it will still be a dog show at this point in time. Do you think that is Ferrari? Do you also believe that's Ferrari's biggest problem, where there's no one really showing true leadership? There's no Toto. If you look at Mercedes, Toto really puts his foot down, and doesn't matter what driver it is involved in anything in that, you can see he's the prime leader of that team. We haven't seen that in Ferrari for years now. Do you feel Binotto is that, can he do that? Because I still don't believe that's a championship team right there with his leadership.
Yeah, no, if you look at his character and demeanor, he seems like a very soft guy. He doesn't seem like the guy to go in the garage and throw spanners around should things not work out. And also, after he took over the reins there, he just seems to let things slide, if you ask me. I mean, you don't see any of that frustration that comes through from the other team principals when his car breaks down or his drivers do something stupid. I mean, clear example was last year in Brazil when the two Ferraris took each other out. You would have thought there'd be some sort of shit show going down in the Ferrari garage.
Yeah.
It was like nothing happened. Yeah, I also don't personally think he's the right guy for the job at the moment, but the guys in Maranello feel that there's something he does have. We'll have to wait to see how this season pans out, even though it's a shorter season. Maybe it's a nice way for Ferrari to assess the decisions and see how things are going along in the F1 team, because they are the richest team in the sport at the moment, and they throw a lot of money. They're one of the only teams to have their own wind tunnel, so a lot of research and development goes into these cars, and obviously it transfers to the factory where they make the passenger cars. So in that sense, if you're going to have someone that's not good enough leading this aspect of your company, what's the point having him there? So unless Matteo pulls up his socks this season, I think his job is on the line as well.
I think we missed that fire. If we're going to put an Italian in charge over there, I think like we all expect like a fiery Italian, with real emotion in it, and he just does not seem to be it, like at all. And I think when you was it Abu Dhabi or when Vettel, it was one of the night races. It could have been Singapore even, when Vettel took that lead, or had that lead on Leclerc, and they were telling him to slow down, like, let him pass, and something. Like, I could tell you now, if that was Toto on the other end of that radio, he would be screaming at Vettel at that point in time, and not negotiating with him, screaming at him, telling, "I'll retire the car now if you do not follow team orders." And it just feels like at Ferrari, it's like if you've got the strongest personality, you can do what you want on the day. That's how it wake up in the morning.
Yeah, no, Singapore was rather interesting. I think Vettel, he definitely called the shots. He wanted to show the world that he was still the number one driver there. And even though Leclerc had a understanding of what was going to happen in the race, they discussed this before the race. Vettel saw an opportunity to get the undercut there. And look, in all honesty, it paid off for him. He did win the race.
course, yeah.
I mean, if he had came out second, it would have been major egg on the face, and they would have probably been flown back to Italy for a big showdown with the bosses over there. But yeah, he needs to get a better grip of the team. Last season was embarrassing. That's all I can say. Certain races just made you hang your head in shame as a Ferrari supporter.
Last season, especially the second half of the season, was the amount of 1-2 qualifications or starts that they ended up bottling. And that to me says it's not a driver thing and it's not a car thing, unless the car breaks down. Obviously, that's different. But if you start 1-2 and neither of your cars may finish first or second, there's issues. Something's not right.
Yeah, no, as I said, it goes down to the entire team. Like, a lot of people praise the drivers. I mean, fair enough. They do all the hard work, put it on the track, and make sure that mindset you need to bring the car home in that position is a lot. But behind the scenes with the race engineers and strategies, that's major. And I think where Ferrari showed their weakness last year was they didn't have a plan B, a plan C if things didn't work out that way. A lot of teams adapt during the race, and Ferrari didn't show once adapting anywhere, any race situation. I mean, last year Austria was a prime example. Leclerc was leading; he had a decent lead. They could see Max making his way up the field. They still didn't give Leclerc enough clear warning to turn up the engine. We understand there's engine rules these days, but at the end of the day, you want to win a race. So you got to take that decision there and there. Okay, look, maybe we should take an engine penalty for the next race. Turn up the engine here, secure that win, make the fans happy, make the bosses happy, earn some money, and let's get the job done. But unfortunately, last year, as I said, they didn't show enough balls to do that.
Jumping from Ferrari we jump to the Red Bulls, and for me, I look at the team and I look at the structure, and I'm like, it's only a matter of time. I think you're going to see Max with the drivers' championship at the moment. And I won't say I'm the biggest Christian Horner fan. I have
because he's married to Spice Girl.
Yes, so, but I guess because he's the lucky one who could marry a Spice Girl. But
That's also true.
but no, I don't know. I think there's that little bit of, I think that arrogance that he has, like, sort of just pisses on my battery a little bit. In a way where it's just like, I'm not too sure where he stands, but he runs a team very well, and it's very cutthroat at Red Bull. You can't miss the cut 2-3 times, 2 to 3 races in a row. You're on the line. You as a driver, your seat's on the line. So, looking at Red Bull, do we believe that they're probably slightly ahead of Ferrari this season going in as second favourites? Or do we see that Ferrari giving them a much bigger push this season, especially because it's a shorter race, shorter championship, sorry?
No, if you have to look at what happened last season, definitely Red Bull's your number 2 team here. I mean, they gave a big push towards the end, and obviously with their drivers on the same page, Alex and Max got a good understanding with each other. Alex knows his place in the team. There's no going to be, even though they have said, Red Bull came out and said that he's given the drivers,
license
free gain on the races, license to race each other. They do understand where they stand. So at the end of the day, it's a team sport as well. They want to do well for the team. I think Christian Horner's arrogance comes from the Red Bull owner himself, the guy who owns the energy drinker. He's sort of transcended that onto the team. He's like, you guys are earning money from me. I'm paying you money. You do your damn job, and this is how I want it done. I mean, they're racing at his racetrack this weekend, so
yeah,
I'm sure they don't want any embarrassments there as well. So Red Bulls, I mean, look, from the time they had Vettel there, they sort of knew what they were doing. They came in as sort of the rookie team. Everyone thought, it's an energy drink own team. It's just gonna be there for branding and stuff like that. But in fairness to them, they've done a brilliant job and added that extra feud that we needed. I mean, at the time it was Ferrari, McLaren, then went to Silver Arrows, and now you've got Red Bull. It's a good mix for the top 3 teams there.
Yeah, and I think in terms of Max, I agree with Keegan. He's definitely got a championship or 2 in him, and I think this season, especially because of the first 2 races in Austria, if he does well there, I think he's got a very good chance of clinching a title this year.
Yeah, no, look, Max, when he first started off in the scene, he was a bit erratic in his decisions. He made a lot of mistakes, a lot of accidents, a lot of crashes. But he seemed to have mellowed down a bit, grown into his shows, obviously learned the ropes a bit. Having Daniel Ricciardo there over the past few seasons as well helped him as well, because Daniel was doing his own thing half the time. So it gave Max the opportunity to sort of find his feet as well and mature as a driver. And last year we've seen a very more mature Max on the track, which is a good thing for Red Bull, because now he is their certified number 1, and he knows he has to go out there and get results for the team. So yeah, if he does win both races, it's a brilliant stepping stone. I mean, you've got 6 races left. You're in the lead. You have to screw things up badly to mess that championship potential for yourself.
Would it? I saw there's some speak of rain for this weekend. Would that suit any drivers a little bit better? Do you feel, or any teams?
Look, I mean, there's a lot of drivers that are good in the rain, but even if there is heavy downpour, I don't really see any particular driver coming up trumps, because everyone has their flaws a bit. It all depends on the day and the strategy, I suppose.
I was thinking, if we hop onto that battle for the mid-table battle, you can call it basically, and it's normally 3-horse race. Renault, McLaren. Does Racing Point sneak into it?
Yeah, Racing Point.
Yeah, and I guess Haas is the other one that's been thrown into the mix a little bit. Do we see any changes really in the coming season, or Could we sort of expect the same close-knit sort of battle between those races? Obviously, with McLaren doing so well in the second part of last season, I think we all expect them to kick on from there and possibly finish fourth. But to be honest with you, I haven't heard too much or I haven't followed too much on Renault's side of things. And we know that Daniel Ricciardo is leaving the end of the season. Do you think that's going to play quite a big role in what happens with Renault this season?
Yeah, no, look, with Daniel leaving, it's obviously he hasn't had the best of time there. He moved across thinking that he would get priority, but unfortunately the engines let him down, the cars let him down. Coming back to McLaren, yeah, they did end the season stronger, and you would expect them to be the strongest out of the three. So with Sergio Perez moving on to Ferrari, you'd sorry, not Sergio Perez, Carlos
Sainz, yeah.
yeah. He'll also want to go out from McLaren, with a bang, I suppose. Coming back to Renault, I don't know if Daniel will have anything to prove there because we, as you said, we haven't heard much about the Renault car during testing or even coming periods to where we're starting the season now. So unfortunately, I don't see them progressing much further than what they were last season.
I think with Esteban coming on board there as well, we'll also sort of have uncertainty with, I guess, how he fits in with that car right now because we're not too sure. I think the only time we probably would have had was Renault even part of the Barcelona testing. I think they were.
Yeah, I think they were a few days late. Was it?
A few days late, yeah. I'm not too sure, but I think you got obviously a talented driver. We all know what Esteban can do, and obviously he missed out on racing last year and things like that. But I think with a new team and a new car, I think they sort of bit in limbo. And if we hop across to Haas, you've got two drivers that know the team. Magnussen clearly the better driver of the two because I don't know how they still have Grosjean around.
He's just there for entertainment value.
Accident on wheels. So I'm surprised he still has a racing. He has a racing seat, and Nico Hulkenberg doesn't have a racing seat. Even at times he drives. For me, he's the grandpa of the circuit. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a McLaren possibly 4, and I think that next spot is wide open for anyone. I think
true. I mean, sorry,
I was just saying, if any team does well, I know Racing Point's been making news, especially with the last testing that was done and things like that. If Racing Point have a good start, geez, they could jump 2 places coming into the season.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, they've got a good chance. The problem with Renault last season, after every race, you just listen to their drivers. It's the same thing they say. The car wasn't right. The car didn't feel right. I mean, how can you go through an entire season where not one race the car felt right? So clearly, there's something very wrong there. So it will give encouragement to the smaller teams to say, hey, look, we've got a chance here. If we really knuckle down, we can secure a higher place finish this season. So the likes of Haas, the likes of even Williams too. I mean, as I said, they've got good drivers. It's just making sure your car survives these 8 races or put something good enough on the track to get you maybe in the top 10, get some points on the table, and finish in a reasonable place. From a normal racing season, this is their best chance to do so. So why not do it?
For the smaller teams, do you think this is a time to sort of stick with what you know and play it safe in terms of what car you're putting on the track, or go balls to the walls, only 8 races, see if you can push something new out that might perform?
Yeah, we did touch on the aspects of financials in the Formula One sector. So it all depends how much money they got to throw at it. I mean, on your driver smashing a car on one weekend and your engineer spending the whole of the next weekend trying to rebuild this thing before the next session. So
and it's a pandemic now.
Yeah, that too. So I'm sure they'll throw some caution to the wind, but not a lot. I think majority of them will play it safe. and tell the drivers just make sure the car comes home in one piece.
Just finish where you can, and then maybe for the next season do something a bit more special.
Yeah,
I mean,
look,
if I'm
maybe
not mistaken,
yeah.
Okay, carry on. Sorry.
No, I say, especially with this season here, they might be using it as look. I know it's going to be classified as a proper F1 season, but some of the smaller teams might use it for testing. I mean, it's an ideal opportunity. You are racing, you can see what will work and what will not work. So they might just use it as research as well. So we'll see how it goes.
On that, this is the final season before the big car changes. Am I correct?
Yeah, you are correct. Yeah.
So that's quite a bit of. Do you think we'll start? Well, I guess it's difficult because the rule changes are so significant. Some of these part changes and that are going to be so significant, you're not really going to be able to see it this season. So, I think, like in a way that you might see I think it's some people might do a balls to the wall, knowing that it will be the last season to use certain things and see how far we can push it. But I totally agree with you, Amit. I do think that the smaller teams are going to be saying, hey, please don't wreck something that we don't have to wreck right now. Our budgets are already under strain here, and probably getting the car on the track for 8 races has probably not been the easiest thing for some of these teams anyway. I even read somewhere, like, is it true that Williams is running with a for sale sticker on them for the upcoming season? I think it's something stupid because the team is apparently up for sale. So, well, technically they say it's sort of up for sale or whatever. So, I mean, that'll be interesting to see what happens if it's.
Yeah, no, look, I think there is. I think from last season was sort of out there that Williams are looking for a buyer. So I don't know what that will have in store for Claire Williams and her dad, but yeah, look, in terms of finances, it's an expensive sport. So maybe you're right. With the changes coming in for the new season, certain teams will want to take advantage of some of the stuff that's allowed now. But at the same time, you got to understand that with the spacing between the races, because they want to try and get in as much races as possible, it's not going to leave them with enough time for traveling and setting up the car again. And if something does have to happen to the engine, they can't really send it back to the factories like how they normally do. So
yeah,
it's going to be very interesting. So what do we think top 3 finishes for this shortened season? Let's start with the constructors and then we'll look at the drivers.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, it's obvious from Barcelona that Merc are the team to beat again. You can't fault them, as much as it's hard for me to say. I mean, like Gary Neville the other day talking about how good Liverpool was this season, but what Merck's got there is something remarkable. It's something what we saw with Jean Todt and Ross Brawn era at Ferrari. They've built a team. They've got their drivers. I mean, Lewis has been phenomenal for them. As much as his team racing engineers are good, I mean, we've seen last season where Lewis was fighting with his team engineers as to why are you making me do this, but it ended up helping him at the end of the day. So it's a collective unit there, and it's a German mindset as well. We in it to win it. So I can't see them cocking things up badly this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if they take the constructors again. Ferrari will obviously be second, but hoping it's not too far behind given the number of races this season. We don't want to see that 100-point gap again. And then Red Bull, so your obvious third again. You got Max there. And look, if Ferrari don't pick or pull up their socks this season, Red Bull could actually eclipse them. We don't want to see that happen, but what you got Alex Albon there and Max Verstappen, they're two very racy drivers, and they'll want to get some victories under their belt this season or some podium finishes. So Ferrari have to avoid embarrassment over there for them. That is.
Yeah, I think it's easy to embarrass yourself if you're Ferrari in a short season like this.
Yeah, no, it is tricky. Hence, I said they've got to go into every race weekend with a good mindset, good strategy, and not. Mattia has to do things differently this season. I mean, everyone has to, but for the sake of Ferrari, as fans, we praying he does.
And then looking at the drivers, are we expecting Hamilton to win it again and equal the Schumacher record?
Look, personally, I don't want to see it happen, but
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
If you're just judging from the previous seasons, I mean, he is the guy to beat. But last year showed like some of the rookies and some of the other drivers are picking their hand up and say, look, we're not going to make it as easy as it is for you. You're not going to get that victory 3 races before the end anymore. So I think it's going to be a tough battle. You're going to see the likes of Hamilton coming up with the Verstappens, hoping Leclerc or Vettel's in the mix over there. But yeah, look, Hamilton is the guy to beat. Second place, I won't be surprised if it's either Leclerc or Verstappen.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I have to agree with
But
that.
yeah, it's sad in a way that you got Valtteri there, who's a decent driver, and he's driving the same car as Lewis. But we don't even mention him. Like, no, he's a good chance for second because last season the opening few races he showed like look, Hamilton's not the only driver in this team. I'm here too.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some rivalry that's going to take place there because we heard Bottas's seat might not be all that safe at Merck in the near future. So maybe he's also going to put his hand up this season and say, look, it's almost like a game of Russian roulette this season because we're not sure what's going to happen in terms of extension of season. Are we just going to get the 8 races? So every driver is going to be going all out on the track there to prove something to their teams, to their fans. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and some of the drivers also to prove to other teams, so if you do lose your seat, that you at least get a decent seat and don't go all the way down.
No, 100%.
Get a seat at all.
I think for me, I would also believe Lewis is by far the probably outright favorite to probably win another one. But something about me just says, watch out for Verstappen this season. I just got this feeling that with the 2 races in Austria and if the car performs quite well or whatever, and that he wasn't that far off Verstappen last season. If you especially look at this, I think the second part, there was a few races where the Red Bull fell off a little bit, in certain tracks and whatever. But I think with these tracks in Europe, their car just seems to work and to suit them a little bit. And if we're going to see an upset, I would love a Ferrari to win it, like absolutely love it. But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole and predict Ferrari win here. But I'll definitely try and say if I'm going to go for an outside of the season, which I hope to win it, it's probably going to be a Max to belt it and maybe just pip it by 1 or 2, a handful of points, not like absolutely lost the competition away.
Well, I think if Liverpool's taught us anything this year, anything's possible, eh?
100%. 30 years, and we finally got it.
That's it.
But yeah. By the way, I did bring my scarf here, but I'm not going to put it on.
The end of this chat. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Ryan. Max definitely has got the perfect opportunity to do so. But then again, all the drivers are going to say, hold on.
Yeah.
There's only 8 races confirmed. And I'm dearly hoping that Vettel's one of them because he's got the most to prove. He doesn't have a seat for next year. And if he doesn't get offered a decent contract, he's going to walk away from the sport. And I feel it's a shame. I think Ferrari is doing to him, I'm going to bring in another football analogy here, which you might not like, is what Brendan Rodgers did to Steven Gerrard. He had a few seasons left in him, and he said, no, you're not good enough for the first team anymore. And that was it. And I think Vettel still got another 2 or 3 seasons left in him. 2 or 3, pushing it 2 maybe. Yeah. So I think he'd want to end his career off in Formula One at a decent team, not at Racing Point or no disrespect to them or anything like that. But
I want him to go race with Kimi again.
Yeah,
Go to Alpha and him and
we didn't even touch on
Kimi.
Alpha. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it would be good, but I think it won't sit well with him that's Ferrari's second team. He'd want to be
No, 100%. No, 100% it won't. That won't go down too well with the German, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, even though him and Kimi have a good relationship from Ferrari days, look, Kimi just does it for fun. He even says it himself. I,
It's for the bands.
When he went to rally driving, everyone asked him, "Why did you go to rally?" He's like, "No, I wanted. It looked like fun, so I wanted to try it out."
It's
Well,
all
look,
for
by that point, he had made his name and his money, so why not?
the
Yeah, he had nothing to prove. I mean, then he came back to racing and then he won the championship of Ferrari. So I mean, there's everything you have to tell about Kimi over there.
So just looking at going over to football, what do you think Liverpool's doing this evening against City?
Well,
Which could
apart
have been
from
a game.
yeah, no, that's why I agreed to the time for this podcast to be 6:30 because I'm dying to see the guard of honor they're going to make for us. Look, it's tricky to.
What I'm going to say is don't cock it up. Don't get a
Yeah.
guard of tonight and get dicked. Because
No,
if you, it means nothing.
well, the players had what it was, 9 or 7 days to recover from the hangover, so hopefully they're on the ball tonight. And well, from what Klopp had to say, like, you know, he doesn't feel that the business is over yet. We still got 7 games to play. We're going to try and win all of them. We already dropped too many points this season, if you ask me. So,
but you've got a points record to chase as well. So
that's true. I mean, everyone's already touted us to get it. So if we stop now, and also if you look at the players, okay, the first game against Everton was a bit of finding your feet sort of game after that long break. I mean, it was even longer than the usual break they get.
Yeah.
But against Crystal Palace at home, they just turned the spanner, and it could have been way more than the scoreline was. So hopefully we turn up against City. I don't think it's going to be sort of the same scoreline as what it was at Anfield. Hopefully it does, but I'll just take the 3 points.
Yeah, I think it's also important going into next season because we're probably going to have a shortened off season. So the last thing you want to do is lose momentum going into the new season.
Yeah, no, that's true. And as I said, the players did have a long break, so we don't know what's going to happen next season. It could start off very similar to what we have now, no crowds in the stadium, and the players just have to get on with the business. We're seeing that, you know, look, the Golden Boot contest is getting hot now. I mean, Danny Ings is throwing his name into the mix there. Mo Salah definitely wants it for the third year in a row. Even last year, though, he shared it with 2 other players. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen. I mean, I know everyone in Liverpool wants to start scoring goals again. We saw 3 different players get on the score sheet last week. So, yeah, going down these last 7 games are going to be interesting. This is our toughest fixture from the lot. So if we turn up tonight, it's going to set the mood for the rest of the games to come.
Then it's just Champions League week, or what's it, 3 weeks? See,
Yeah, now that they should put an asterisk next to the name of the team.
It's like you're going to be, but if you think about it, how ridiculous is that going to be? Like you're going to be playing all your games in like a 3-week period.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's a mini World Cup. So
it's a mini World Cup. So you're just going to you're playing off the bat that period, which is great. If you think about it, I think it's great. It's not true Champions League, but I think it's still great to watch. You're not going to away goal rule and, you know, that little thing, but I think it could be quite fun. It'll be interesting to see which teams can actually do it on that World Cup basis.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're not going to have a week or 2 weeks to prepare for each game. You're not going to have that safety of a second leg anymore. Yeah. So, I mean, we've got lucky with that second leg quite a few times.
I think every team has, to be honest. In Champions League history, every team has gotten lucky with second legs.
And every team's gotten fucked with that second leg.
Yeah, true.
100%.
I think I'm just a bit bitter that this the Champions League stopped 1 week after Liverpool got knocked out. If it was a week before that, I'll be like, yeah, no, it's not a bad thing to end the season like this.
Yeah, there's still unfortunately someone's still going to go on and pick up that trophy.
Look,
we don't know. The things might change in the world still. We're such in a weird situation where countries are now catching second waves, third waves of this virus. as much. It's wonderful to have all sport back. It's wonderful to see Grand Prix back. It's wonderful to have football back. But all these things we need to also realize as fans is that's going to all be taken away quite quickly again from us. And you look at Super Rugby in New Zealand, and it's amazing seeing full crowds and good rugby being played and stuff. But only 2 weeks ago, they had a scare where they had 3 passengers that entered the country that had COVID, and they traced it back, and they could have infected 300 people, 2 people. And then next minute you look at it and you're like, well, it's rampant in the country again, and there goes Super Rugby. So I think all these things is we've got to, I think people and all sports fans need to understand, and we just got to enjoy what we have at the moment, because it can pretty much just disappear in a flash.
Yeah,
and then
that's true.
On that point, I am happy that most of the leagues are at least being finalized, in the sense like with Liverpool now, even if they were to cancel the remaining games, they've been crowned champions, even though none of us enjoy it. We can all agree that they do deserve it. So I think at least everything's coming to a close now, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, it's nice to get some closure. I mean, we've seen a couple of the European leagues just call it an end during the lockdown period, which would have left a bitter taste in not only the other supporters' mouths, but mine as well, because it's always going to be that guys coming, you guys just got handed the title, even though it was pretty much done. It's nice to get the 2 wins, or to secure the points, to make sure that the other team couldn't catch you at the end of the day. But yeah, as you said, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. This could be the future of sport for the next 2 to 3 years. We hope not, but in all likelihood, it could be. So fans need to just be happy with what we've got. Obviously, maintain your safety measures to not, increase the spread of the virus, because the sooner this thing goes away, the better for all the people. Not just sporting people, the fans. We can get back to the stadiums or the stands to enjoy our teams and see our teams win again.
Yeah. Well, I think that note, we've been going for an hour. I know Miff needs to go prepare for his game.
Just a change of shirt.
Lekker, boys. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
it
you.
Was a pleasure.
And maybe we should do a catch up after the second week of racing to see how the 2 weeks go.
Yeah.
We'll do a post.
Guys, enjoy. Yeah, and be safe.
You too.
Make sure the beers are stocked up in the fridge.
Before they take it away again.
100%. Okay.
Cheers, mate. Cool. Thanks for jumping on. Cheers, guys.